So we just got a chance to see how highlighting can impact visualization. So let's take a chance to edit the visualization we've been working on before and add some highlighting. So here we have the two scatter plots that we made, one on the regular XY axis and one on a log axis. So let's go ahead and take a selection of users and add a method that allows us to highlight those users in D3. So first we need to look at the users. So let's go ahead and look at what we logged in the console before. So this is our sorted user list. So let's go ahead and take a couple of these. We'll take the first one. Let's go ahead and just take a few of these out, and we'll note them down here. Right, so let's just take the first few users. We'll just take maybe the first 3 for now. Right, and let's go ahead and see if we can add a method on our rank frequency plot object that will allow us to highlight these. So to get started, let's see what it should look like. Right, so on the plot, let's add rank frequency plot 2. We'll highlight on the bottom plot, and we'll give it highlight, and we'll give it that list. Right, so we want to highlight these 3 users. So of course our data has to be in this specific format. So let's go back and add a method to do that. So we had the plot here before, right, and it's working on these X and Y, which are global, right. It also adds circles. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and declare circles outside of here, so we have access to them, right. So we can go ahead and actually look at those. That's going to add a global circle method, and then we'll go ahead and add a method which we're going to call highlight. So highlight is going to be a function and we're going to want the user list to be passed in here, and we're going to want to go and look at the data that was set and find which items those were. So if we go ahead and look at the data that was in there, we're going to want to find the indices of the user list. So if we say, so indices is going to be our list here. We could make it an array of the length of our user list here, and we're going to loop through our data and figure out what the indices were for the user list. So we're going to loop through our whole data. So let's, for var I is going to be 0, we'll write a loop through the whole data, I less than data.length. Okay, here we go. So we'll go ahead and start checking. So we'll say if the data of I of 0 equals user list, here we're going to want this equals user list of j, right? Then we're going to go ahead and do something, right? So here, so if our data is equal to that element, then we'll indices.push, we'll go ahead and push that indice of I, right? So let's go ahead and just run that, and we'll go ahead and look at what those indices are. So this should loop through a whole data and log those indices. So really just manipulating the data to start here. So if we go ahead and run this, looks like something broke. Circle attribute has unexpected length. Frequency plot.highlight is not a function. Okay, and that's because we didn't actually export it as a function. So we can do that. Here we're just going to want highlight. It's going to be highlight. So actually, GHT. Export that as a function. Save it, run it. All right, so here it goes. It saw these 3, right? It didn't actually find any because we needed to, we weren't using the first element. So we cheated a little bit here by passing in that user list directly. So here we can just do this because we're really comparing apples to apples here now. Elements of data to itself. And let's see what we got. All right, so these are the indices exactly as we expected, right? 0, 1, and 2. So now let's go ahead and use those indices that we grabbed out to highlight the plot with those indices. So let's go ahead and take the circles, right? And we can apply a filter to take only the first 3, or we can just do a function that works on all of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and reset the circle's color based on this indices. So I'm going to say circle.attribute. I think this was circles is our all of our circles, or just circle. And each of these has a circle in there. We didn't set the fill explicitly, so we'll just go ahead and set it now. So we'll say that the attribute of fill is going to be a function of d and I. We can just do this, do j again, right? Loop through the user list, right? But here we actually want to loop through the indices. And we're going to say if I equals j, if I equals j, then we're going to return blue. Let's return red. We're going to highlight a little more dramatically here. And then else we're just going to go ahead and return black for the fill. So this is going to have to loop through the whole indices list for each object inside the thing. So let's go ahead and save and run this. And it was unhappy with that. Oh, there it goes. See, we went ahead and highlighted. It looks like the first 3. And actually, doing that looks like we noticed that 1 fell entirely off the plot here. So we've highlighted the first 3 elements, and you can see now we can pass in really any items we want to highlight. So we'll go ahead and take a look about how to link these together next. Feel free to move on to the next video, but I'm going to go ahead and quickly fix the error we noticed where we were setting the x position incorrectly on these circles. So if we go look at our x scale, here we define the scale linear with the range on the visualization. And then when we set the domain for that, x.domain, we started it at 1, right? So rank 1. And then when we used the x scale to set the x position, we actually passed in I here. So I is the index, which starts at 0, right? So a quick fix to this would be to add I plus 1, which is going to be the rank. So let's go ahead and run that. But we can see here that yes, the x position is actually being set correctly. For here, 1 e to the 0. So position 1 is where we want this. This is actually the rank we're showing.